All right, Ian Castleberry joining the Wise Guys with Barrett Sports Media. It is our baseball update for today, presented by Blue Mountain Pizza. Ian, good afternoon, buddy.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, man, I'm doing pretty well. And wow, we're probably not doing as well as the Atlanta Braves right now, but that would take a lot, man. The Braves sweep the Mets to take a 2-game lead in the NL East. After trailing in May by 10.5 games, the magic number is 1, and I know Braves fans are super excited about that. Ian, what is your feel on another Braves run to the title?
I mean, they're playing at their best, it appears, going into the postseason. And statistically, it's still kind of uncertain whether the team better going in hot or whatnot. But I think you would rather be playing at your best going into the postseason. And, the Braves, they faced the Mets at their best. They beat Jacob deGrom. They beat Max Scherzer. I mean, they had their guys, Kyle Wright and Max Fried, going as well. But right now, everything seems to be humming along, pitching, hitting. They're going to get a first-round bye here, or a bye through the wild card round, assuming they don't blow the division in the final 3 games. A 2-game lead with 3 games left. You got to like Atlanta's chances of holding on to the NL East crown.
Yeah, and speak to, Ian, like you were just talking about, it's not like this is a team playing over its head. It's almost like that Mets series was a prelude to the pressure of not only the postseason, but the World Series, where everything seemed to go last year Atlanta's way.
Yeah, that was the playoff series, effectively, those 3 games in Atlanta. I mean, the division title on the line. Now, you did have the consolation prize that whoever loses the division is still going to go to the postseason as a wild card. But, do you want a first-round bye, or do you want to face the San Diego Padres in the wild card round? So I think that provided incentive. But, yeah, this, again, is maybe they don't have the Braves. This is a little bit different team. They have a lot more young talent. You have guys like Michael Harris making a contribution, William Contreras. They still have Eddie Rosario. But last year's team, Alex Anthopoulos, brought in all these different pieces, Jorge Soler, Rosario, and they just hit at the right time. I think this is a little bit different in terms of plugging in pieces and everything coming in at the time. I think what you see now with young players, like I mentioned with Harris, Contreras, Vaughn Grissom, they added Robbie Grossman at the trade deadline. They're just, everything's humming along. They had the experience, obviously, having won the World Series last year. Nothing's going to scare them here. And I think maybe that was a factor in these 3 games against the Mets.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And boy, it was Saturday night was a blast, Ian, because, lots of great college football games were on. The Braves and Mets were on. A great game there. Well, I tell you what, man, it was. If I could just have Saturday over again, that was a real blast to watch that. And I didn't think the Braves were going to sweep this. I really didn't. I was hoping maybe 2 out of 3 and go from there. But, man, they did it when they had to do it. All right, so Aaron Judge is sitting at 61 home runs, 3 games to play. What's your feel on him hitting 62? I mean, the pressure's got to be mounting, and he hasn't had a home run in, 3 or 4 games maybe? But he doesn't seem like a guy that feels the heat. But what's your take on that?
Well, actually, the Yankees have 4 games because they play a doubleheader on Tuesday.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
So, 4 games against the Rangers, at the Rangers. I think being in Texas, maybe kind of like we talked about last week, I think that the pressure of being at home against a division opponent, maybe Judge was feeling it a little bit. It certainly didn't show in the way he was playing. Like if people did see the Judge at bat, and I know some fans were frustrated with ESPN and ABC cutting into college football for those at bats by Aaron Judge, but the Orioles weren't really giving him anything to hit, and Judge wasn't just chasing pitches to try and hit a home run. He was taking his walks. He's still playing baseball. He's still trying to do what he can to help the Yankees win games, even though the Orioles won 2 or 3 in that series. But they face Martin Perez, who's given up 11 home runs this season. Glenn Otto and John Gray both have given up 20 home runs. The second half of that doubleheader on Tuesday, that starting pitcher has yet to be determined. Judge has faced pressure all season long. I mean, going into the season, he turned down a huge contract. In betting on himself, he's having maybe the best offensive year we've ever seen, especially going into free agency. He has certainly responded to the pressure. Will he feel it if he's down to one or two games, having not hit 62? Maybe he will be trying a little bit, but his approach has been so consistent all season long. He's not going to chase a pitch just to try to hit a home run, and even if it means him not hitting 62, I think he's going to stick with that approach, especially with the postseason coming up.
All right, so that's why we ask Ian these questions. Good points being brought up. Aaron Judge, 4 games to hit 1 home run and become the all-time American League single-season home run leader. All right. Speaking of Judge, I mean, obviously he turned down that big contract with the Yankees. In hindsight, an outstanding move on his part. You know, he's the closest thing to Jeter that the Yankees have had. I can't imagine him going anywhere else, Ian. Is that a possibility, do you think?
It's definitely a possibility if he goes to free agency. I mean, the Yankees, they might have as much as they want to keep Aaron Judge for the reasons you mentioned, they may have a price. And if some other team swoops in and blows whatever the Yankees can offer out of the water, there are rumors that the San Francisco Giants want to make a run at Aaron Judge. There are some other, maybe the Padres. He is a California guy. What if the Mets? What better way to stick it to the Yankees, right, in New York than signing Aaron Judge? I think the Yankees ultimately will re-sign Aaron Judge. I think Judge doesn't want to leave the Yankees, but anything can happen in free agency. It just takes one team making a crazy offer. And Judge he's 30 years old. He's never going to have another chance like this to hit a big-time free agent payday. It might be the last contract he ever signs. It likely will be. So I don't think he's going to turn down that opportunity.
Well, if the boss was still in New York and still running the game, Aaron Judge would probably be a Yankee. But you never know, man. The Yankees were balking at his demands early on in the season. But when you have a season like this, maybe the mind will be turned back around. It's going to be an interesting offseason, and that'll be one of the lead stories during it for sure. Speaking of money, by the way, Ian Castleberry with the Wise Guys with Barrett Sports Media, our baseball update presented by Blue Mountain Pizza, Main Street in Weaverville. Shohei Ohtani, the Angels arbitration hearing nets $30 million for Shohei in 2023. He's going to be a free agent after that season. And Ian, what's your feel on Shohei coming back to the Angels if they can afford him? He does seem pretty comfortable in Anaheim.
He does. First of all, I think it's a tiny bit disappointing that the Angels and Ohtani are avoiding arbitration with this one-year deal. I mean, arbitration becomes an ugly process between the team and the player, but this is unprecedented, or would have been unprecedented, for Shohei Ohtani to go to arbitration and argue, not only as a pitcher, but as we know, he's also an outstanding hitter, MVP last season. I mean, $30 million, that probably is cashing in. The Angels giving him, it's the largest one-year deal in Major League history, surpassing $27 million that Mookie Betts got from the Boston Red Sox in 2020. But to go back to your question, Betts signed that one-year deal with the Red Sox, and then he was traded to the Dodgers. So this does not necessarily mean that Ohtani is going to stay with the Angels. It looks likely, but there's also now some cost certainty. Any team trading for Shohei Ohtani knows how much he's going to make next season, and if they want to make a run at him and get him before he becomes a free agent, well, I think there's several teams that could give up the prospects that the Angels would want in return, even if it would only be for one season. Big market teams. Listeners are going to roll their eyes when I say the Dodgers, but the Dodgers have always been interested in Shohei Ohtani. They were one of the teams bidding for him when he was coming from Japan. I would look at the Dodgers. I would look at the Mets. The Cardinals, even though they're not a big money team per se, but they were in the Juan Soto sweepstakes because they had the kind of prospects to make a deal like that. Of course, the Yankees, and I think maybe as a dark horse, look at the Texas Rangers. They're really making a run. Not a successful season this year, but they made a big free agent splash going after Corey Seager, John Gray, et cetera, and maybe they'll make a run at Shohei Ohtani here.
Oh, my God. You know what? Who's to say? You never count the Dodgers out. But it would nice to see Shohei go to a contender, honestly. He and Trout have been so good. They're basically among the greatest players in baseball today. You never hear a peep out of them, despite, the Angels once again failing to make the playoffs, and I'd love for Shohei to go. And by the way, Ian, I got it. You mentioned the arbitration hearings. Yeah, they can get nasty. I mean, if you're the Angels, like, how do you make Shohei look bad? I mean, the guy is...
Yeah. I mean, he's coming off an MVP season. He's got 34 home runs this year, 200 strikeouts, 213 strikeouts as a pitcher. He has one more start remaining. How can you dispute this? But one other point. Remember, the Angels are in the process of being sold. Artie Moreno wants to sell the team. Does the new owner want to take over a team, a payroll that basically has all of its money invested in Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout, and Anthony Rendon, who's been a huge disappointment since coming over from the Nationals? So you might see, I don't know if you're going to see a fire sale per se, but will the Angels keep all three of those players? And, if it's difficult to build a team around those three stars, that might not be something that a new owner wants to deal with.
Yeah, and that's a really good point there. Yeah, I can imagine the Angels. Yeah, we have a little problem. You're not tying your cleats correctly, and that's what do you say to Shohei Ohtani, man? The dude is like perfect. Ian Castleberry plays with the Wise Guys, talking Major League Baseball headlines Mondays here on the show, presented by Blue Mountain Pizza, Main Street in Weaverville. Hey, Ian, how about former Smoky Mountain High School star Cal Raleigh's game-winning home run? Not only to win the game, it clinches the Mariners' first playoff berth in 19 years. A lot of pride coming out of Silva, and we've been following this young man since he was in high school.
It's just such a great moment for Cal Raleigh. I mean, not only, he made the major leagues last season. This is his second year, his first full season with the Mariners. 26 home runs now, with that walk-off home run on Friday to send the Mariners to the postseason and ending what you just phrased as a 19-year drought. 26 home runs, the most ever by a Mariners catcher. So that's the kind of season that Cal Raleigh has had for the Mariners, their starting catcher, all season long. It's just such a great moment. A 3-2 pitch, a tie game, bottom of the ninth. Domingo Acevedo, the A's pitcher, just kind of hung an off-speed pitch, low and in the middle of the plate, and Cal Raleigh swatted it just one-handed swing, and he held his bat aloft almost like a warrior holding his sword up, it seemed like, right as he was running toward first base. And if listeners, if you haven't seen it and you want to, go to YouTube, go to Twitter, see the video of Cal Raleigh's home run. The call by Dave Sims, the Mariners TV announcer, is outstanding. The call by the Mariners radio announcer, Rick Riz, also outstanding. Neither of those guys have seen the Mariners in the postseason. Unfortunately, Sims won't get to call the Mariners in the postseason because it goes to ESPN for the wild card round. But you could see just the jubilation, 20 years of frustration ending in one swing.
We're joined by Ian Castleberry. Great conversation talking Major League Baseball on the D.C. Creasman Jewelers Wise Lines, presented by Blue Mountain Pizza, Main Street in Weaverville. Ian, finally, is there a wild card team in either league you think can make a postseason run, maybe a World Series appearance?
This almost feels like cheating for an answer, but I think you have to look at the Mets if they're going to make it as a wild card. I mean, they almost won the National League East. They have Jacob deGrom, Max Scherzer, those two pitchers in any postseason series, especially best 2 of 3 in the wild card round. I think you have to look at them as being a fearsome opponent for anybody in the National League field. I would also look at the Blue Jays. I mean, they had 90 wins. They're making a run at the Yankees in the American League East toward the end of the season. They also have outstanding pitching. Alex Manoah, Kevin Gausman leading that pitching staff. But they also have just such an outstanding lineup, and I think you look at the Blue Jays lineup, there just isn't an easy out in that lineup, led by Vladimir Guerrero, having another MVP caliber season, Bo Bichette, George Springer, Matt Chapman, struggling in terms of batting average, 229 after coming over from the A's, but 27 home runs as well. I don't think anybody wants to face the Blue Jays in the postseason.
Yeah, absolutely, especially since Geddy Lee has season tickets right behind home plate. So
there you go.
Yeah, man. Take off, Hoser. Awesome to chat with you, Ian, as always, buddy.
All right, thanks, Pat.
Thank you, Ian. One of the good ones right there. He's so good at what he does. Ian Castleberry, Barrett Sports Media with the Wise Guys.